Johnny, so great to have you and to see you. How are you?
I'm awesome. Sun is shining
Yeah,
in beautiful Seattle area, so can't complain.
awesome. How nice. Yeah, I forget that you're up in Seattle. For some reason, I just think Bay Area. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I spent 14 years of my life down that way. Also a beautiful area. And
yeah,
yeah, the two major tech hubs, so can't go wrong.
yeah. Well, for sure, you got two major tech hubs, Seattle and kind of San Jose, North, and between San Jose and San Francisco. Well, anyway, so let's kind of like start chatting. And I think like I got to know you from your work on the steering committee within the collaborative, and also by you presenting at ONUG as well. So, but I don't know how many people know you. I think that's kind of like one of the things that we're trying to like do in the podcast is kind of amplify people who have really great leadership positions like in the industry and also are really great thought leaders and contributors to the ONUG community. So let's give everybody a little bit of your background. So kind of, and I know you've been both on the networking side of things. You're also on the security side of things, on-prem, off-prem, as well. So, why don't you take us through a little bit of your career journey?
Sure. Actually, I started as an engineer, so I was designing large-scale two-way radio and then cellular infrastructure networks all over the world. So large-scale CDMA networks that are now the foundations for, AT&T, for example, and Verizon. And that was parlayed me into, believe it or not, into security. The air interface is pseudo encrypted. So a colleague of mine said, "Hey, why don't you come join our encryption toolkit startup? We're going to build asymmetric crypto to secure online transactions." And I thought that sounds amazing. So I ended up in the Bay Area in the 90s with a great wave of folks. And that was a big foray into security I ended up staying that route for many, many years up until, 2016 or so. Even beyond that, um, really always on the vendor side, but folks like Checkpoint Software embedded the modern firewall, Juniper Networks. I did about eight security startups,
Mm,
and of varying exits and so forth, and that landed me into Microsoft's enterprise cybersecurity group. I
mm,
spent a lot of time with customers, particularly CISOs, as they were re-envisioning their security stacks
yeah.
um, from on-prem to the cloud, and that was just an incredible journey. Microsoft's an incredible company, and from there, I found my way to Oracle and Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, in particular the SOC, the Security Operations Center,
Yeah.
and was embedded there for a couple of years before joining Oracle's North America Cloud and Infrastructure team, where I am currently, and I lead our deep subject matter experts, kind of covering across things like database, engineered systems, app dev, and security. And this is probably the best job in the world, I think.
Ah,
You know,
awesome.
we help customers ideate and implement on our cloud, and it is sort of both a privilege and a challenge. It's amazing. I'm very lucky.
Ah, how awesome. That's it's always great when, you're talking to somebody who really loves what they're doing. It's like, one thing I've always tried to instill in my kids is that whatever you do, just make sure that you're passionate about it, and that you really love it, because if you really love it and you're really passionate about it, it's not going to be work, and work is such a big part of our lives. If you're not enjoying it, if you're not liking it, if you're not passionate about it, um, I think some bad things happen, because of that. You're kind of you're doing things that you're not exactly happy about, and that's got to like translate into like overall, health and wellness, for them as well. So that's so anyway. So I'm sorry for kind of that little detour, but
Oh
I
no,
think that's like
no
great.
worries at all. I think
Yeah.
what's important to remember too is it's not always a straight line to finding your passion and finding what you love, but you do have to stay very very conscious and deliberately be the CEO of your own career. So if you're at least in a place where you're on a path to doing what you love and it's pulling you in that direction, that is good enough. Or stay aware of opportunities as they come along. So I definitely, for me, I can't say it was a straight line to this job. There were curves and decisions along the way, but um, I did evaluate at every single step whether it was bringing me closer to what I enjoyed. Being close to customers, but also being close to the tech is sort of the ideal cross section for me,
Mm.
and I was able to merit myself to this particular job, which is great.
Yeah. Well, that's all. Well, I think you're right. Because like if you're close to product, which is the tech, and you're close to customers who are using it, as well, it's like that feedback loop that you get is
Yeah,
is so powerful. It's
yeah,
you kind of know when things are going south and when things are going north. And so that's a beautiful thing. So maybe like in your career, one, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. The what would you think like maybe like are one or two of the main kind of pivots or things that you really kind of learned or really influenced you over that that span of time?
yeah. I think you have to be really honest with yourself and continue to check in as far as what constitutes competence, right? So is it if you have a technical expertise, let's say, which a lot of us in this industry do, is the pursuit of deeper and deeper technical expertise, patents, invention, innovation, is that really where your passion is? And then continue to sort of invest in that area.
Mm.
Um, what I found is, like I said, that cross section of um, being close to a customer, understanding and translating their requirements, speaking to technical people as to how to make that a reality. That is really my passion,
Mm.
and that had to come at some cost of, well, I can't keep investing in deeper and deeper and deeper technical depth as much as I'd like to sort of be hands-on with the product and the tech, because if I choose that, competence requires then that I spend the majority of my time there. So I think that being honest with oneself as to what really drives you and what you're really good at, and what expertise you want to sort of continue to invest in, is what has been the thing for me.
Yeah.
There is not one right answer. Obviously, it comes down to the person and knowing a bit about yourself, staying very present,
Yeah.
to understand what that next step will be.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, great. So let's talk about you know what you love about the work that you're doing at Oracle. So, are there certain problems that you're seeing? The beautiful thing about I think working on the supplier side of the industry is that you get to see a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different customers, and what they're struggling with, and that's something that the consumers don't necessarily get to see. They're kind of dealing with their problem. Some of them have networks, not all of them, but some of them have networks, and that takes personal energy, to reach out to peers like in the industry to kind of really understand what if they're experiencing kind of the same issues that they might be experiencing. So across like over maybe the last 12 to 18 months, has there been like maybe what are the top couple of problems that you're seeing that everyone is kind of struggling with right now,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
what they're
I
really
don't.
going towards?
It's a really exciting time. Generally, for me, it was about problem solving, especially on the security side. A lot of it was, how do we maximize the defender advantage? And recently, especially sort of with the broader role across all things cloud and implementing on cloud and bringing the data side of it in my job to join up with security, it's really become about innovation. So of course everybody's talking about AI and Gen AI, but the speed of things being what it is, the conversations now are truly transformative. It's how do we transform our back office so that our ability to generate reports, service our internal employee community, streamline our hiring processes. How do we use AI, Gen AI, to do that? On the front office side of it, customers across industries are looking for ways to connect with their customer base more meaningfully, to provide higher levels of customer service,
Mm.
expedite the ability to problem solve for their customers, and sort of be, let's say, more competitive and more innovative. So
Mm.
AI, Gen AI, obviously is on everyone's lips. What has really surprised me is the specificity with which we're now talking about this technology. It's, things like, um, help me transcribe our customer support calls so that I understand how to more quickly use the knowledge base to get the problem resolution, or to generate a voucher, or
Mm.
provide a more delightful and meaningful interactive experience through the use of avatars and digital assistants, things
Mm.
like that. It's kind of amazing, actually, the
Mm.
uh, the range of creativity here is limitless, and we're on the cusp of having just every aspect of life transformed through these technologies, and it's happening
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, that's a great window, into the marketplace, because it's interesting. Every once in a while, I kind of view, okay, are we, for example, like we transformed, ONIG this year. We had a gentleman named Andy Brown and Phil T. They gave a keynote at Fall in New York on kind of AI's impact on global supply chains, and kind of enterprise workflows. And then before that, in Dallas, last year in Dallas, we had Dr. Doug Comer from Purdue give a talk on kind of just the under the hood, of AI. So going into probability and statistic theory and machine learning and the difference between the two. So Doug really kind of set, kind of a groundwork, and then there was just so much interest, in it. That was after obviously the, ChatGPT moment that we had like in the industry. And then Andy and Phil's talk was so insightful, that the community said, okay, well, we should have a track, just focus on AI. And so, and we asked Andy and Phil if they would do that. And they said, yeah, we'd love to. So our first meeting, probably within 15, 20 minutes, we realized, no, this isn't a track. This is everything we're doing. It's
Every
like just systemic, all across. So
every
anyway, so
aspect of life.
everything. And, and that was my epitome moment, to like, wow, okay. Because sometimes like I'll get, sensitive to overhype, and so I want to try to throttle it back. And that's, I think, a normal, healthy response to kind of the noise that we hear in the industry, but not this one. This one is just as big. If it'll be bigger than the internet was, back in the late 1990 timeframe when
No
Mosaic
doubt.
came in. So I
Yeah.
think, so that was my epiphany moment. So it's really great to, to see, that, you're hearing this from a kind of a wide view, but also we're hearing it from all of the community, as well. And I think, you know, one, I love, actually the use case that you talked about, because I cannot wait to the moment where there is no more voicemail, and also like, what is it like, when you call up a company and you're trying to reach somebody and you have to go through that whole voicemail trees, it's like, I can't wait till that's gone. It's like, and so I have an avatar, I have like, kind of an LLM that is kind of guiding me to where I need to go. It's like, but so that's a great use case. But I think the other use cases, that we're seeing is, we have, obviously we have pharma and we have kind of the financials, and healthcare, three large, verticals. And I love their use cases. Like these are like kind of top down AI driven initiatives. So like cancer research and in healthcare, and in pharma, it's kind of drug discovery. The financials is kind of like wealth management, portfolio risk mitigation, or bond, assessment or quantitative analysis. It's like those are really kind of interesting, and those go into like the same category of autonomous cars, kind of like big projects, big spend. but there's like lots of little use
Oh, for
cases that are,
sure.
and so it's not these just big, like give me a container or a pod with like all of this, compute to do this, So I think that's, so I
Oh, it's
think,
been
and you're seeing that, and I
democratized.
think that's really good.
Yeah, access has been
I'm so,
democratized, and there are no laggards here.
yeah,
We used to talk about like early adopters versus the folks that are coming late to the party. This is like spanning literally everything, and the use cases can start very small with very high impact. So, we've had ones where a city wanting to use the data that they already have about tree growth and their spend on arborists to decide when to prune and where to prune.
hmm,
Farm equipment has so many sensors. You can do everything from better maintenance of the equipment to understanding where to when to water. Data already sort of locked in your ERP systems or your human resource systems. Just culling that data so that you can easily identify which applicants are the best match for the job. Or doing summary views of your financials or summary views of your inventories using your natural voice. I mean, identifying faulty components on a manufacturing line. There is
hmm,
the use cases are endless and they span every industry, every area, and they don't have to be so heady. And we no longer need to be data scientists to get access to the tools. It's like the data
yeah,
is largely centralized in these systems, in these enterprise applications. And even before you join it up in a lake with data from sensors or unstructured data, you can just analyze it and get insights more quickly.
hmm. Yeah, what a great breadth of use cases that you just kind of just went through. Is there any? Are you seeing, like a top three, or is it more just spread out? And it's like industry specific, workflow specific, kind of use cases.
A lot of it right now is it's almost easier to talk about what we're not seeing than what we're seeing. But yeah, there's a lot
Okay.
that falls in the two camps of, like I said, the back office systems that are
Oh,
your human capital management, your enterprise resource planning. Um, that structured data is already centralized, so getting summary views there, generating reports with your voice, redacting reports, getting summary views of financials, things like that. And then the front office, a lot of it is give me summaries of customer reviews of our products so that I can
mm,
understand, is a new product trending neutral, trending positive with our customer base. So again, lots around language, some around image classification. But what we're not seeing just yet is sort of the
mm,
multimodal, right? Where you're combining, images and language and speech in these like multimodal, because the RAG, the regenerative, retrieval augmented generation, the RAG agents are now getting built such that you can go to the different large models as needed in order to retrieve the contextualized information and then combine it. But
yeah.
I do think that as we speak, your ability to interact with an airline and get quicker resolution, your ability to speak with a doctor and get a quicker response to what your latest scans look like is already happening. Like that speed with which you're getting those replies is being helped by the application of AI and Gen AI.
Yeah, I love, so your kind of taxonomy is front office, back office, and I think that's an interesting way to characterize, the kinds of applications that you're seeing. Also, too, like, okay, on the things that aren't happening, kind of multimodal, right? So it's like, if you have kind of mostly kind of text based data, okay, you're pretty good, but if you're trying to combine, multiple different forms of data, whether that's video, whether that's pictures, with speech in real time and also text, then okay, we're still working on that problem, and trying to move, to get into more of a kind of a comprehensive, multimodal, real world, totality, of input. And if you're dealing with already, if you already are collecting a huge amount of data, whether that's, you're putting that into a data lake, or that's like a lot of the systems, whether that's in kind of financial or if that's in sensor kind of data, then that seems to be kind of also low hanging fruit, as well. So like you're already capturing that data, and now it's putting it into a canonical form, and then bringing that into kind of an AI engine to make more sense out of that data. Is that kind of like, is that
That's
what
right.
you're,
Yeah,
saying?
that's right. I think that a lot of customers will start with, well, where do I already have data that's centralized? And again, that these large enterprise applications hold a lot of rich capability, because that data is already in a form whereby you can easily interact with it, understand it, and do things like faster analytics by virtue of AI. Sort of, use your voice to navigate the data. But for a lot of enterprises, let's say, the bigger opportunity is joining that data up with other data sources and breaking down the
Mm,
silos of data that they may have across organizations, bringing it to one central place, and then making its accessibility broad, so that whether you're, a citizen data scientist or a business analyst or a programmer, you can come to the same, let's say, data lake or warehouse, and use the data for your, particular projects and use case. So that's where the biggest challenge is breaking down those data silos, bringing it in, centralizing it, cataloging it, and then enabling its accessibility to all the different populations inside of an organization that need it. So that's a
yeah.
lot of where our work focuses as well.
Yeah. So like when those silos break down, like what do you anticipate? So um, I'm sorry, I was going to answer my own question. So yes, go ahead.
I mean, you can see it. You can expect public companies to be able to report their financials results faster. You can expect hospital systems to be able to, deliver a kind of a 360 highly integrated view of your health picture, because they've combined, analysis of images with a doctor's handwritten notes with the, sort of the information that might be contained in your medication histories, all in one place, and doing some predictive analytics as to what, your health picture looks like, things like that.
So I think that's enriching, that's like, a better service that being delivered from those particular entities. What I was thinking, more from is that thinking about kind of infrastructure teams, and how this will impact infrastructure teams, right? So if you're
Mhm.
starting to break down these silos, so we may not just have kind of networking teams and security teams, and system development, teams, I think we'll probably still have developers, but how would you think that is the old model? Are we living in the last kind of like stretch of kind of the post mainframe IT model where everything was siloed, and are we, is this kind of weave away or kind of create the opportunity to create a more kind of horizontal service oriented kind of, whether it's IT or AI team?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know that I've thought of that. Definitely, all of our jobs will change in the sense that we divest ourselves of kind of mundane generation activities, be it simple code or simple networking setups, and we start to invest in solving complex problems, like, is the
Hmm.
output that I've been given from the AI accurate? What more can I do with it? How can I be more creative? Maybe it frees us up for more collaboration. So certainly the silos of the job start to break down. The job starts to change from one of, uh, spending too much time on sort of the simpler tasks to more time spent solving complex problems and certainly collaborating to do that. I think that in that sense, it's pretty exciting because in just in the very short term, we can start to evolve our own sort of competencies and areas of expertise, and that certainly applies to networking and IT staff.
I think so. Yeah. So it's interesting. We were both introduced by Gene Sun over
Hmm.
at FedEx, right? And
FedEx, yeah.
so I was talking with Gene a couple of weeks ago, and I think his perspective on this was that like AI won't take your job, but people with AI skills will. So it's like it's if you're not gonna kind of like be able to progress, and deepen your skill set and kind of get an understanding of how you can utilize this technology and to make both your life better and also your organizations better, then you're probably going to be left behind. I think that's really what Jim was saying, which I think is really what you're kind of getting at as well. And I think the thing we're not quite sure, like, how organizations will change. We know that they will change, in this, and I think it's going to change for the better. We've been kind of stuck in these silos for a really long time, and also people are doing a lot of kind of routine, mundane, toil-based tasks that
Right.
they would prefer not to be able to do anymore. And that, like, in your past experience in a SOC, like, I feel so bad for, like, a lot of those security engineers. Like, they are just dealing with just a lot of toil, all the time, trying to, like, run down a threat, understand what, how to mitigate, a threat, what is the severity, of that threat, assessing posture, you know, for their organization. So, to me, like, this should be really a welcomed, change and advent, in the industry. So not only are you, getting the benefits of both, kind of on the front office, back office, but also if you extend that back office towards, like, the services that are kind of making your organization run, obviously the IT organization should make that better, as well. Should make it more streamlined as well.
For sure. I think that the quality of experience we have in whatever our particular job is poised to, that job satisfaction is poised to increase. I mean, I think about even just getting away from security and IT, just being a manager, one of the things that feels particularly, toilsome as performance reviews because you have to get all the data and you have to gather and you're writing it. So imagine, just using your voice uh, to gather and summarize all the pieces of feedback. And now you're spending your time having a conversation about the person's career, a conversation about their goals, because you've freed up the hours that it would normally take to just you know gather a word jumble and read through uh, all the particulars. So, but that's just a simple example. I mean, in the case of IT and security, in particular, a lot of time spent in doing matches to commodity threats and well-known patterns. Instead, spending time in the advanced persistent and the complex patterns because you have all the building blocks in front of you that have been handed and summarized is a potential there. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
look, it's an exciting time to be alive and to be in this industry for sure.
I'm so
Be
with
part of
you.
delivering those mechanisms, to everyone.
So how do you think the industry changes? Like, what does the industry kind of look like, in like 4 or 5 years, and not just the industry, the economy, right? Because, like, it's like, you know, we are part of the engine of kind of the global economy. Usually what we deliver on tech is kind of the baseline for many companies to create their value, with, and everything you've been talking about is about really been about business value creation,
Mhm.
and at speed, as well. So, have you given thought, about, okay, well, what does this industry kind of look like, in the next couple of years?
One of the most exciting things that I'm saying, I mean, gosh, if only I had like, well, form thoughts here, I'd probably be able to go, invest and own some island somewhere. But one of the things that I have been seeing, which is pretty cool, is this high degree of cooperation amongst the large companies, hyperscalers, the folks that are really big in public cloud. So, and I think about what we've done at Oracle in particular, our partnership with Microsoft. I don't know if you know, we started with sort of connecting up our data centers via the interconnect. Basically, private lines, dark fiber, connecting our data centers, allowing customers to have their data on one cloud and their development environment, application development environment in another. Most recently, we announced database at Azure. So here's Oracle, the database company, saying,
Yeah.
Here's our database available in somebody else's cloud. Well, the degree of collaboration on background that we've had with Microsoft, and the amount of time we're spending with each other, almost is mind bending. It's just like those barriers of I work for company A, you work for company B, start to dissolve because we're coming together to serve customer deployments, and you're going to see more and more of that. I think because customers are effectively deploying cross cloud providers, wanting the benefit of all the things, right? And so the architectures, the patterns are developing in this way, and you almost wonder, whether it becomes indistinguishable which company you work for, and you become more in service to sort of the customer and the use case, and that's kind of cool. So I think
That's really cool. Yeah. So like, and
that's
that's
something on the horizon.
yeah. So it's really kind of it's intercompany architecture development. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And how does that kind of I'm sure that that had to be driven by a large group of customers,
Yeah.
who are looking for that. So it's not something that both boards thought up and all of a sudden delivered. It had to be kind of like driven by that, and that's really interesting. To see more of that, kind of collaboration, on behalf of consumers, to take place. Yeah, you're right. Like, it was a big question to offer like kind of a vision, for like, how things will transpire. I have been thinking a little bit about it, and I've been trying to think of it in terms of GDP, in terms of power consumption, in terms of like competitiveness, but like that's not something that you could really kind of measure well, unless it's like kind of in an industry sector. You look at the market cap of a particular group of companies, but it seems like there's one graph in particular that showed like over the last 125 years, GDP grew on average about 3%, and that projecting like over the next like 15 to 20 years, that may double, so that may grow for like 6 to 8%, and you never know with projections, but I guess the thing is that what really grew the internet, was enhanced productivity, you
Productivity.
know, um, you know,
Yeah.
so it was really and a productivity dividend that really driven productivity for organizations, and so that materialized itself in terms of greater profits and greater growth, and so their stock market or their stock increased. And so the thinking here is around both. It's not just AI, but it's cloud AI, and a group of other kind of disruptive technologies that we are kind of in the precipice, of in, or you can basically argue we're in it, already, but it's just going to come at us a lot quicker than any of these other disruptive, technologies have before, and will have a much larger impact. But I think it's really all about kind of efficiency, productivity, and the basis of competition between organizations starts to fundamentally change by those who are able to wield the power of AI and cloud, and to harness that to deliver business value. I think
Yeah.
those, there may be kind of a fault line, really around that, kind of moving forward.
Yeah, and with accessibility honestly becoming easier and easier, I mean, you think about GPUs and their availability might be our only limiting factor at this point, but you know, AI,
Yeah.
open source LLMs are available to everyone. So going back to your productivity and how things might change, I would expect to see a lot more small businesses emerge because of sort of the equal access to this tooling, and maybe even very very small firms being able to compete with the Goliaths or the of the folks that have been in the business for a long time, simply
Mm.
because the the accessibility is now broad, both from a cost perspective and an actual physical access perspective. So it's kind of exciting to think that if you can dream it, you could probably go start a company on it right now
Yeah.
and compete effectively, even against
Yeah.
an incumbent.
I think that that kind of like speed of innovation, and access to technology. I think you're right. The fundamental or the foundational technologies, there was a lot of investment that was put into that. That's quickly becoming commoditized, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like it's all open sourced, and so
Mm-hmm.
and now those tools, libraries, directories, for LLM and other kind of foundational AI technologies are now available to a lot of companies, a lot of people, and so to me, it's like it's not a it's not equivalent at all, but it's like if I look at okay, where is openness, in this ecosystem of AI, that's where it is, right? So it's almost like that's the TCP/IP, of this ecosystem, where obviously in the internet, once TCP/IP was available, and HTTP, then that just kind of exploded, that marketplace, and kind of I view the same thing here because I think on the application side of it, we're really just scratching the surface. It's like there's just um, you can point towards consumer, based, AI technologies, and that's kind of, Chat and Midjourney and, and others there. And then there's like a lot of custom stuff that's being done within on-prem or within the enterprise marketplace. And I think there's like, we really haven't seen kind of the investment in a whole bunch of new startup companies in kind of the AI app space. It was a lot of it went into that foundational piece, and that seems to be done. It's slowing down anyway, So
Look, anybody at this point has access to the tool. So, like I said, if you can dream it, I mean, you got low code development. You can pretty much drag and drop and create the application of your dreams that can run on any form factor. Pretty soon, you're using your voice to generate code for that idea, whether it's an application or a business. Amazing. I mean, just think of what folks are going to be able to do with that. It's no longer, I was reading an article about how it used to be, 10 years back that, being a data scientist was just a very hot, area to be in. Well, now you have citizen data scientists. It is no longer the métier of somebody who's gotten a PhD in this stuff. You can um, merely by virtue of the tools and and access to the data that they've been trained on, begin to create. And so
yeah,
the your imagination is really the only blocker there, or
yeah, that's
enabler.
it's interesting. It's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Digital expression,
Mm-hmm.
which was kind of popular like in the 90s when we just started to have like tools that artists can now use to express, their art. And now we probably have tools that where it used to be the province of folks with highly specialized skills, whether that's in, kind of engineering, data science, computer science, what have you. And, that would be a beautiful thing if that becomes democratized, and that you could really unleash human innovation and human creativity at a much lower, threshold,
Yeah,
that's been before. That would just, boy, we talk about unleashing humanity.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a
that's where it's
great
headed.
thought. That's a beautiful thought. Thank you for like sharing that. So, is there anything that worries you? Obviously, you can't have a discussion about this stuff without like, oh, okay, well, you know, um, with concern about maybe downside, and you have that security bent in your background, so there always should be something bothering you. you know?
Yeah, they say a healthy paranoia, is a good thing. I
Yeah.
think, look, with anything, our primary responsibility is to protect our data, protect our identities, both as sort of individuals and as stewards of the corporation. So one of the things that when I talk to companies, the natural question comes up: well, what about what about my data? What about my intellectual property? So if I'm interacting with an AI or a Gen AI, aren't the prompts that I'm putting in IP? They are. So, we need to be thoughtful. So it's
Mm.
not so much a worry as a general ask. We need to be thoughtful about the architecture. We need to be thoughtful about where the data resides, where the results of our, uh, our innovations reside, and having the proper controls around it. But the thinking is pretty much the same as it always has been, which is have the appropriate controls in place to identify, secure, protect, respond, recover. Um,
Mm.
uh, and at least at Oracle, we're really oriented toward enterprise data protection, and the whole idea is, yep, you can interact with LLMs, you can take advantage of Gen AI, but your data is your data. Um, and it is secured and it is ring fenced, and you have the whole spate of controls to ensure that only appropriate access is there. But
Mm.
I mean, I think being responsible and thoughtful about the implementation is where it's at.
Yeah.
There's a whole broader conversation about these things at large, but those are problems that have existed time immemorial, right? So,
Mm.
I think that with every, we talked about that when the internet came along. Am I going to use the internet to, for good or for evil? And then the cloud comes along. Is my data more secure on premises than in the cloud? I mean, I think with each sort of set of innovations that comes out like this, we have to ensure that we're putting security and protection of what's valuable at the forefront.
Yeah, I think that's important. It's like you need to have a global conversation about this, and which we are like right now, and obviously in other forums. Depending upon your point of view, that can always be taken overboard. But the bottom line though is that I think it's healthy, to have to be kind of concerned and aware. I don't think we really had this conversation with the internet. I think we were just like so enthralled and excited, with the value and the immediate value that you got by just connecting to another computer and exchanging email, sharing files. It's like all that stuff we used to have sneakernet, and I think that was just like, oh my god, this is like so great, and but like I don't remember in that time having a lot of conversation and discussion about it. I don't think we really kind of envisioned many bad actors. I'm sure it happened, but not at the volume that it's happening, here. And but again, like I said, I think that's a healthy thing. I think it's a good thing to do it. And if it provides additional safeguards and guardrails, and and even like many in the ONU community, they have groups that are they're putting those policies in place, and they're putting those guardrails, in place, to assure that there isn't kind of a rogue team that starts to kind of just use a bunch of AI tools that gets them into trouble really quick. So I think, like I said, I think it's healthy, to have
Yeah,
that. There's so much great promise, and there's so many really great things that could happen, here, on whether that is on healthcare, on understanding more complex things, advancements of physics and materials, there's so much upside here, and so if we have to spend some time worrying about the downside, I think that's okay. you
Yeah,
know,
no, like agreed. I was thinking when I said the internet, I was thinking like, particularly in academia, right? All of a sudden, I can search the internet. Is it too easy for me to go get the information that I need and plagiarize it rather than do the hardcore research and sort of, we got around that. Okay, now there's ways to sort of, authenticate, and you have to ensure the information is accurate. Are the results that I'm getting the real thing? Well, I should have multiple trusted sources of information. I have data sets that I've validated as trusted, and I know that they're an authoritative source. And I think it's just kind of the same thing, sort of we're seeing here. It's like, are the results that I'm getting from the LLM accurate, or is it hallucinating? Well, there are ways to go validate that. And then, we ensure that we have, and that's why you still need human beings validating this information and creating the constructs by which the sources can be trusted and
yeah,
grounded and so forth.
yeah, perfect, yeah, perfect. So, I don't know. Do you have any final thoughts? On this era that we're just in right now before we adjourn.
Jump in, don't hesitate. I mean, pretty much everybody that I talk to, whether it's let's say somebody not of tech, a lay person that it seems like in an adjacent industry, oh, this isn't for me. Yes, it is, right? It is every aspect of our lives is poised to change and be materially improved by virtue of um, you know these tools, AI, Gen AI. So don't put off sort of interacting with what is out there, becoming familiar with it, whether that's for the sake of understanding what your children are going to be having access to at school, whether it's understanding what the world at large is experiencing, or whether it's potentially even unlocking your own creativity and making some of your aspirations come true. So I'd say get started.
What a great way to end. I don't want to add anything to that. That was like perfect. Awesome. Hey, Johnny, it was such a pleasure to chat with you. I always do
Likewise.
whenever we have time.
Likewise. Thank you very, very much.